AlphaTauri's sister team, which I would rather refer to as Big Brother, Red Bull apparently is bringing new upgrades to the Hungaroring, claiming it will shave off 0.2 of a second of their lap time. So that's daunting to think about. Laurence, what do we know about these new upgrades?
It is daunting, isn't it? But then we could never
Mm-hmm.
really expect Red Bull just to stand still and let everyone else catch up. And arguably, at some tracks, we have seen that gap come down a little bit from where it was at the start of the season. So, yeah, I mean, 0.2 is probably what you would expect from a significant upgrade to a Formula One car. It's not always guaranteed. There's lots of factors that come into play. So you might get the 0.2 in the wind tunnel, but when you get it to the track, you realize that there's other issues that slightly hold you back, or perhaps you get more than that, which I think is what McLaren got with their latest upgrade. There's a lot of talk around it being a change to the side pods. And there's this temptation, isn't there, that perhaps they've gone for a Mercedes style zero side pod approach, but I don't suspect they have. I think what we might see is something carved away from the top. So if you look at the Aston Martin, the Alpine, the latest McLaren upgrade, there's what's sometimes referred to as a water slide feature on it. So it kind of like slopes down. It's quite dug down into the shape of the side pod. And Red Bull, I don't think have really experimented with that quite yet, but it seems to be working for all of those teams. So that it seems to have made decent gains off the back of it. It's not to say it's, the magic bullet that resolves all issues and gives you a guaranteed like 0.2 of a second, but if you can get it to work with the overall concept, then it's possible. And Red Bull have admitted at times this year, they said they've taken inspiration from their rivals, as the rest of the grid seems to be taken from Red Bull in copying certain shapes and design directions. Red Bull have said, they've seen things on other cars and they found it, put it in the wind tunnel, adapting it to their concept, getting an understanding of it has led to performance. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it is. I don't actually know, but yes, side pods have been rumored, so that's a very visual thing. So we should be able to tell on Friday when they let us have a look at it outside the garage what's changed on it.
If they showed up with zero side pods, not only would that be like just the ultimate trolling, that is the anything you can do, I can do better, like mantra from Red. I'm so curious to see what happens this weekend. Do we know, are both Red Bulls getting the upgrades, or is it just Max or Checo?
Not sure, but I'm pretty sure
Okay.
Red Bull usually roll them out to both drivers.
Okay.
But I mean, we'll confirm that as soon as we can on the weekend.
Well, with that, Nate, then if you're supposed to shave off 0.2 of a second on lap time, does that put even more pressure on Sergio Perez to perform and to qualify well? Finally.
Yeah, massively. I mean, he's got a lot of time to shave off of his lap times as it stands. They've been pretty rough for about 5 races now. Yeah, I think with or without the upgrade, it's the pressure's on. Especially, I think every weekend now is going to be, even if Red Bull are downplaying it as much as possible, it is kind of going to be a kind of how did Ricciardo do and how did Perez do kind of situation. Christian Horner spoke on the F1 Nation podcast this week about that exact thing, and he said we've got no plans to take Perez out of the car next year. He's got a contract till the end of 2024. Said Ricciardo wants to be in the car for 25. That's the long-term game he's playing. But that said, with Ricciardo there, if Perez does keep performing, I think we've said it a few times now on the last few episodes, at some point the mood of that will change. So what better weekend for Perez to turn things around? But I would say the pressure's on, and especially in qualifying. Qualifying, seems to be where he's tripping up, and it's then having a massive effect on the rest of his weekend. And even if he doesn't have that upgrade, you would expect that Red Bull should be challenging for the front row of the grid. So he needs to be there come Sunday morning when the race starts, or Sunday afternoon rather, when the race starts. So yeah, I'd say the pressure's there, but I think that's gonna be really fascinating. Like, if he doesn't do well, how quickly that tone around Ricciardo's kind of position changes. But yeah, maybe, who knows? The upgrade, 0.2 off of that time, I feel like for Max, it feels like every weekend he's shaving that amount of time off of that Red Bull just because of how far ahead he is. So it's gonna be hard to actually see, I think, exactly how much of a step they've made for that reason.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.